India currently ranks as the world's second-largest importer of crude oil, a position that links its internal growth to the stability of global supply chains. 85% of India's crude oil is sourced externally. Much of that volume passes through the Strait of Hormuz, responsible for 34% of global trade. This exposure drains foreign exchange reserves, making the national balance sheet a passenger to international volatility. This ship is the literal vessel of that vulnerability, a reminder that the nation's energy security is tied to maritime routes thousands of miles away. The pursuit of Atmanirbharta, or self-reliance, acts as a defense mechanism designed to permanently change the mechanics of the Indian economy. For an emerging economy of this scale, achieving energy independence is the primary requirement for long-term macroeconomic stability. To dismantle this reliance, India is deploying a three-part framework. First, policy mandates displace the volume of imported oil. Second, technological diversification shifts energy sources in transport and industry. And third, behavioral economics ensures consumers voluntarily adopt these new systems. Decoupling GDP growth from fossil fuels is a complex engineering problem. The success of the transition depends on all three layers functioning in unison. We begin with the policy levers the state uses to cap baseline oil demand. This matrix tracks active initiatives, specifically the Ethanol Blending Programme, which targets the composition of fuel sold at the pump. After reaching a 10% ethanol blend, the mandate now targets a 20% blend, or E20, by 2030. This shift requires a massive expansion of domestic fuel production derived from agricultural feedstocks. Sugarcane and grain-based ethanol provide a domestic feedstock that directly substitutes for refined petroleum. The fiscal impact is significant. Between 2014 and 2024, this substitution saved India 99,014 crore rupees in foreign exchange. The economic equation is simple. Every liter of ethanol produced domestically displaces 1 liter of imported petrol, keeping capital within the Indian economy. This retention of capital helps alleviate the persistent pressure on the nation's current account balance. A healthier trade balance provides a buffer for the rupee, insulating it from the price shocks common in the global oil market. By integrating agricultural yields into the energy supply chain, the state builds a multi-billion-dollar hedge against external price volatility. Policy mandates require immediate technological availability, particularly in the transport sector. Transport accounts for over 90% of India's total oil consumption, with most of that demand generated in dense urban traffic. While passenger cars are a common focus, India's technological strategy prioritizes the 2- and 3-wheeler segments that form the backbone of its mobility. Electric two-wheelers are projected to grow at a compound annual rate of 66.4% through 2030, while India already holds 57% of the global market for electric three-wheelers. This growth is fueled by a rapidly expanding manufacturing base, which grew to include 220 different manufacturers in 2024. We can already see this technological shift on the ground, as electric rickshaws displace traditional oil-based models in major cities. While batteries work for light transport, heavy industry requires a different technological solution for high-temperature heat. Low-emission hydrogen is the technological pillar intended to replace coal and natural gas in sectors like steel production. Produced through electrolysis powered by renewable energy, hydrogen provides the high-intensity heat necessary for heavy industrial processes. The strategy applies electrification where possible in light transport and reserves green hydrogen for the hardest-to-abate industrial sectors. Top-down mandates and new technologies only succeed if they align with consumer behavior. The first driver of this shift is economic necessity. High prices for traditional fuels compel consumers to seek alternatives, like carpooling or public transit. The second driver is the use of public awareness and psychological framing to encourage green consumption. Previous nationwide campaigns for hygiene and water conservation show India's capacity to mobilize the public toward major lifestyle changes. Marketing that uses regional languages and vernacular content has proven effective in shifting purchasing decisions toward sustainable technologies across diverse populations. Surveys indicate a significant shift in preference, with consumers now willing to pay an average premium of 9.7% for sustainably produced goods. This willingness to absorb a carbon premium is closely linked to rising education levels and household incomes across India. This combination of economic pressure and voluntary preference acts as a multiplier, reducing the risk of aggressive energy transition policies. When policy, technology, and behavior align, baseline demand for imported oil shrinks. In 2025, India's oil demand growth slowed to 0.6%, even as the broader economy expanded. During that same period, energy-related CO2 emissions remained flat, a trend unseen since the 1970s. This shift also produces an immediate co-benefit for urban centers: improved air quality. Dense urban smog presents a severe public health challenge and a significant long-term fiscal burden on the healthcare system. Replacing petrol and diesel with electric vehicles and E20 blends systematically removes the pollutants that cause this smog from the air. By securing the national balance sheet through oil conservation, the state simultaneously addresses its most acute public health crisis. This internal strategy for stability has a global impact. India's energy transition is a core component of its nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement. While these commitments are announced on the international stage, their success depends on the domestic policy pillars we've explored. These international commitments reflect a strategic alignment where domestic economic survival and global climate goals follow the same mathematical path. By rigorously solving for macroeconomic stability and energy independence, India proves that national self-reliance provides the most effective engine for global climate action.